How's it going? Dan here again. Today I'm going to talk about framing glove side pitches, which would be inside to a righty and outside to a lefty. And then I'll make more videos on framing arm side or throwing side pitches, and then high pitches and low pitches. But I'm just going to cover one today, and then two drills you could do. And remember, I wouldn't necessarily care too much about teaching framing if kids are still struggling to just catch the ball. So if you refer back to a video I made on the number one thing that catchers need to master, catching the ball, then you could see what drills I have for kids who are still struggling to catch a ball. So this would be kids who have some experience and are pretty solid at just catching already. So we can start to incorporate framing, which if you don't know what framing is, it's basically trying to make pitches that are close to the strike zone and strikes themselves look better to an umpire. So sometimes it would be referred to, or often referred to, as stealing strikes, where balls that are close to the strike zone, maybe not right on the plate, but maybe a few inches off or so, depending on the level that you're at. It's probably a little bit bigger of a strike zone at younger ages, and as people get older, it shrinks a little bit. Making those pitches look like strikes. And I make that point because if you have a ball thrown that's clearly a ball, like way out of the way, and then you try to frame it, that's the quickest way to lose trust with an umpire. So you want to frame strikes and then pitches that are pretty close that look like strikes. But I wouldn't frame pitches that are clearly not in the strike zone or near the strike zone. And so I'll start with the glove and then your position behind home plate. And then after that, I'll show you a little bit more of an advanced drill for kids who are pretty good with their glove work, okay? So the first thing, talking about setting up, is if home plate's, right here, you want to position yourself. So remember, glove side, you want to position yourself so that the ball looks centered in your body. And there's a bunch of different ways to frame. There's newer ways with the knee down and doing things where the glove comes up, but this is fundamentals. This is teaching pretty much beginner or young catchers how to do the fundamentals of framing. And so this is very basic. You can advance and do more framing techniques as you grow up and get older, and maybe I'll put videos out like that. So this isn't to say this is the only way. It's one way, and I'm teaching you the way that I learned as a kid. Okay, so positioning yourself on home plate. If you're glove side, then what you're going to want to do is not a ton, but if you're centered on home plate, just shift over just a little bit into your stance, whether it's your secondary or your primary stance, okay? And what that does is it still looks like to the umpire that you're somewhat centered on home plate, but if you're shifted just a little bit, when that pitch on the inside part of the plate, or slightly out of the strike zone on the inside part of the plate, if it's centered on your body, it looks more like a strike versus being centered on home plate and having to lean a little bit, right? That ump's going to see that lean, and they still might call it a strike, but the less movement that ump could see you making, so the ball's centered on your body, the more likely it is that they're going to call it a strike for you, okay? So, glove side pitch, first thing you'll do, right, you give your sign. From there, you just do a little bit of a shift out to the inside part of the plate or the glove side part of the plate, and then here I am, okay? And so that's the first thing that you need to do, okay? The second thing is, in my opinion, you want to minimize movement of the glove. Because once again, if the ump sees you trying to move the glove a lot, the perception is that you're trying to make it look like a strike, which means it implies that it's not a strike. So you really want to be able to, once again, if you watch that other video about catching, freeze the wrist when you catch the ball, but still have soft hands. And so on the glove side, what you want to do is kind of like come around the ball a little bit. Okay, you're still always having your thumb pointed up like this, never going like this, okay, and we're obviously not going here. The elbow's out, and you want to come around the ball a little bit. So just like this. It's easier to see with a glove on, okay? So, got my setup, okay? Just a dry one, I'm not going to have a ball thrown yet. Let's say the ball's on the inside part of the plate. You lean, and then you catch the ball here, okay? Notice I don't bring it back in. It's just leaning so the ball looks centered on my body, and then holding the glove here. So that's what I mean by you kind of come around the ball like this, okay? Versus here, all right? So I'll do a couple. I'm going to have my trusty sidekick, Jeff, come up. Kind of be right here is fine, I guess. Jeff, you could scoot up. Actually, I'll scoot up. Here we go, right here. Don't have to be too far back. And he's just going to give me pitches on the inside part of the plate, okay? So I'm giving him my signs, all right? Setting up, okay? And then go ahead. Right there. okay? That one was a little down the middle, too easy. Right there, okay? And notice how I'm freezing the glove as well. You want to give that ump a really good look at it, okay? Once again, give your signs, set up a little bit more shifted toward the inside, and then you're going to turn the glove. The last thing I'll talk about is using your body to make sure the ball's centered on your chest, right? So you kind of see it when I was doing those pitches right there. You just shift a little bit, right? Because once again, if I'm like this, it looks like it's inside. But if I'm like this, it looks like it's a strike, okay? So I think that's a good place to stop for framing glove side pitches. Once again, make sure that you set up in the right position. Number 2, coming around the ball and freezing the glove. And number 3, or not in any particular order, make sure that you're not trying to frame balls that are clearly balls, okay? Strikes and close strikes, okay? And then the last thing is just making sure that you use your body a little bit to shift and make sure the ball's centered on your chest.